Welcome to the game room.
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Let's paint Seth from the Don't Look Back core box. Seth has a lot of different parts. His hair, his skin, his glasses, his shirt, backpack, um, the flashlight, his pants, and shoes, and he's also standing on a rock. So let's go ahead and start with his shoes. We're going to use Agaris Dunes contrast for this. And if you watch the other videos, it's the same. We just go straight out of the pot and very carefully we just put it on. Make sure you don't get too much of the contrast paint on your brush because it will run if you're not careful. But if you get some on there, wipe off most of it, and just paint like a normal paint, you'll be just fine. Just let it run into the recesses. Don't get too much. If you do get too much, wipe off your brush real quick on a towel and just dab the excess off. All right, the contrast skeleton horde, which we've used in some of the others. It's a lighter brown color. It works great for skeletons, and it looks good for tannish colored pants. So that's kind of what we're going for here. Okay, our standard barbarian flesh and our basic skin tone. We will start with the barbarian flesh as it's a little bit darker, and then we'll hit the highlighted areas with the basic skin tone to kind of brighten those up. And we will come back later with the flesh tone to marry those two together and really make the skin look really good. When you're putting this on, try not to get it onto the other areas. Flashlight's okay because we're going to do that black, so that'll cover up, but we're going to use a Griff Charger gray for his shirt, so try not to get it on the underside of his shirt. If you do, just go back with your Gray Seer base paint and just touch it up before we start doing the shirt. All right, so here we're just using the basic skin tone, which again is a much lighter skin tone. And we're just going to go over the high areas, the top of the hands, top of the arm, wherever the light would hit. Kind of hit the bridge of his nose, his lips, his forehead. And again, we'll come back later with the flesh wash and tie it all together. Okay, here we've got the Griff Charger Gray contrast, which we've used in some of the others if you've been watching this whole series. This time I'm just using it straight out of the pot because I want the little bit darker gray from the Griff Charger. And we're just going to do his shirt. And you don't have to worry too much about getting on straps because we're going to do that snakebite leather, so it'll help cover it, but it just looks better if you just take your time, be careful, and don't get it on the other parts. If you notice, I use the same brush pretty much exclusively, unless I'm doing the dry brush, which I'll actually use a real dry brush, but I use the same brush pretty much throughout the entire series. It's just an old Army Painter brush that I've had for a long time, and I use it quite a bit. I probably need to replace it because the tip keeps coming off, but I have other brushes. I just like this one. Snakebite leather, and for the backpack, now this one you can get a little bit more of the contrast on there because you're doing a large area, and you kind of want to just, kind of like what I did there, just kind of put a bunch on, move it around. Don't get too much because you don't want it to run, so don't get a bunch on your brush and put it right next to the shirt. You don't want to do that. But snakebite leather gives us a nice brownish leather looking backpack. And don't forget the straps around the front. Okay, so funny tidbit here. When I did my initial notes for which paints I wanted to use for which parts, Blood Angel's red was actually supposed to be for his bow tie, and I just painted it on his hair. So he's going to have a bright red hair, which actually works out in the end. It comes out pretty good. I was originally going to use the Hasdrake yellow for his hair, which would make it kind of more of a yellowish orange, kind of a blondish color. But hey, the red worked, so I just went with it. Okay, and now the Ayandan yellow. I'm sorry, I said Hasdrake yellow. It's Ayandan yellow, which we're going to use for the bow tie. So here, again, you want to be very, very careful. You don't want to get too much on your brush because it will run all over. So just be very careful and take your time here. All right, Black Templar contrast, and this is going to be for the flashlight. Be very careful around the hands. You don't want to get too much of the Black Templar on there. Get enough, and then I like to work at the end of the flashlight, work towards his hands, so we don't get you don't want to run on his hands. You want to be very careful, especially on the flashlight, because you can see where the way he's holding his hand, you can see the flashlight through his hand. So you want to make sure you get that, but don't get it on his fingers. Probably would have been easier if we'd done the flashlight first, but you know, we didn't plan that far in advance. I'll be honest. And then the cool part for the flashlight portion, for the actual light, we're going to use demonic yellow, which we'll do here in just a second. And that one is just a Army Painter demonic yellow. We're going to get a good glob of it on our end of our brush, and we're just going to poke it into the end of the flashlight, and it works out really well. It comes out really, really well. You'll see here in just a moment. So just be very careful with the yellow. Um, I'm probably putting more paint in there than you normally would to use a yellow because you usually do thin coats. But this one I'm just kind of getting a big glob of it and sticking it in there, and then we'll let it dry in there and it'll work. But you don't want to get it all over the outer rim of the flashlight too. So if you do, just wipe it off with your thumb real quick and you'll be good to go. Okay, uniform gray. This is going to be for the rock. When we did the Black Templar earlier, we just went ahead and coated the rock too. So now we're going to do a heavy dry brush. Dry brush, we're going to get a stiff bristled brush, which what I have here, an Army Painter dry brush. You're going to get the paint on your bristles, and then you're going to wipe them off, the majority of the paint off. And then you're going to quickly, wipe it back and forth across your target area. And what happens is the paint gets picked up on the raised edges, kind of like what you see here. If you have too much paint on there, you're just gonna paint the whole rock gray. And instead, we want to kind of give it a rough texture. You still want that black there. You want the gray to be higher or much brighter on the edges and less on the flatter portions. And it makes it kind of look like a rock. And then, as you've seen in the other videos, our flesh wash for our final step. And it's just, put it on the skin, move it around, let it sit in the recesses. Don't put too much. Don't forget his face. Now, I do apologize, guys. I did his glasses apparently off the camera. I don't remember what happened or if I even hit it, but I just did it with a straight black. Did not use the contrast. I needed the black to be a little thicker, and was just very careful with the same brush. So here's Seth, all done and complete. That was the last step. So again, tabletop quality from a distance. He looks pretty good, and he fits right in with the rest of our cast of characters. So I hope this helped. Hope it'll get you interested in getting your models painted, because it doesn't take a whole lot of time. He probably took me about 35 minutes total. So please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching.